Shields up, Ironbreakers. Rurikhan here coming at you with another video, and today we're going to be talking about Palworld. Now, yesterday I gave you my initial impressions of the game, how I feel about the gameplay, the animation, the art style, visuals, all of the usual stuff that I talk about in an early impressions video for a game. Quick story short, I like the game a lot. I think the game is actually a lot of fun, which is very surprising for me because I usually don't tend to like survival games, and I am most definitely not a Pokemon fan. So this really did come out of nowhere. However, there is kind of a dark side to this, and that is that in social media, there's been a lot of people talking about allegations of this game using generative AI to basically ape off Pokemon designs and copy those into this game and basically generate just like all of their pals, which are the creatures that you see on screen that kind of resemble Pokemon. So that's kind of like one of the allegations that is being made about this game, is that the game just uses AI to come up with Pokemon that look like this. And that is one of the things that I wanted to talk about in greater detail today. So we're going to be jumping onto a couple of Twitter threads here because I've just had this sent my way on Twitter ever since I've started playing the game and announcing, because, you know, usually I promote my streams on Twitter and I'm like, hey guys, I'm checking out Palworld, come hang out, come watch the streams, do all of that stuff. And I've gotten a lot of backlash in those Twitter threads, and I'm just going to be showing you a couple of examples. Don't need to go like too deep into it, but that is kind of like what got me to look into this situation and to even see what exactly is going on. Now, one of the posts that was linked to me quite often is from VGC, which says, Steam's newest hit, Palworld, has been accused of plagiarizing designs from Pokemon as social media users negatively highlight its creator's history with generative AI tools. And you can see here that you have, I don't know what the name of this Pokemon is, and you have this pal from Palworld. I also don't know what its name is because I can't really memorize all of these names. There's too many of them. But yes, they definitely look very similar, particularly with the mouth and with the eyes. But at the same time, this is the same design as Cat from Alice in Wonderland. So I don't know what to tell you about that, but, you know, clearly the developers are definitely using heavy inspiration either in Cat or maybe even directly on this one. Could be the case. I'm not saying it's not. And before we even go any further into the video, let me just make one thing perfectly clear. I don't have a dog in this race. I don't really care that much. I'm only playing Palworld because the game is fun and I'm playing it with friends and I'm enjoying myself, and that's pretty much the end of it. Like the games that I'm invested in, as I've already mentioned in previous videos, for those of you that actually follow my channel, you'll know that I want to play Grand Blue Fantasy Relink when that comes out. I want to play Final Fantasy VII Rebirth when that comes out. I want to play Dragon's Dogma 2 when that comes out because I've been waiting for years to play that game. Those are the games that I'm actually very much invested in, and those are the games where if you start, you know, throwing shade at them, those are games where I would potentially come out of the woodwork to kind of defend them. Well, Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, not yet, because I haven't really played that game, but you get the gist of it. This is just a fun game for me. I'm not interested in defending it. I'm just talking about this because people kind of poked me on Twitter, and I was like, okay, fine, let's go ahead and talk about the situation. So we have this, and we even have another example here, which is this sheep thing here and this sheep thing here, okay? And there are more examples. I think there's even one person that made like a Twitter thread that has all of the pals, and then she put them side by side with Pokemon. And there's a lot of them in there that are a big, heavy stretch, but I don't want to be going over like friggin' 100 designs talking about, well, it looks like this here, looks like that there. You guys get the gist of it. There are designs that are very much similar to the Pokemon designs. And then I see stuff like this on my feed. And by the way, before we go any further with the video, please do not, I repeat, do not harass these people on Twitter or anything like that. But basically, I made a post where I said Game Freak at their next Nintendo meeting, and I put the, you know, the meme of the dude sweating and whatnot, because I thought that'd be funny, right? Because of the tremendous amount of success that Palworld is experiencing right now. They sold 5 million copies in 3 days. They're top of the Steam charts, most played games, all of that jazz. Super successful, right? And so I was, you know, poking a little bit of fun at Game Freak, as you do. Like, the problem is that people take this stuff way too seriously. So we have here, Game Freak will now just go full-on AI. Apparently now everybody supports AI-generated content. Thanks for nothing, Ruri. I was like, oh, wow. Dude's just like, okay. So basically I said, I'm just going to be brutally real here. Whatever Game Freak does doesn't get lazier than what they've been doing for the last decade. Also, I've been trying to find actual proof that they're using AI, and I'm yet to find it. Do you have proof of this claim? I would like to see it. a lot of times whenever I engage like this, people think that I'm like, memeing or something like that. I'm just like, no, if you're saying they're using AI, very well. Show me, please. I want to know so that I can talk about it from an informed standpoint. And he says, you have to find proof. And I was like, oh no. Okay. I mean, it's like, do I need proof? And, and then you linked me the post that I've showed earlier, and there's another post here, heads up to anyone thinking of supporting playing Palworld, who cares about Gen AI issues, the CEO of that studio is full speed ahead on generative AI, blah, 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 blah. There's basically a whole article on here that talks about how they created an AI game and all of that. This comes into play a little bit later in the video, which is why I'm not diving too in-depth into this, but we will. Okay, rest assured, we're going to circle back to this. But anyways, then I also saw another one where this dude said, I'm an artist, I don't like AI. So you see, stuff like this starts spreading through social media, and people just begin assuming it as fact, which is kind of dangerous because we then have, more people here telling me, oh, you might want to consider halting your playthrough of Palworld. So I figured, you know what? Let's go ahead and let's make a Pikachu, an AI-generated Pikachu. Now, I'm not the most proficient AI user, but, when the technology came about, I was like, oh, let's see what this whole thing is about. So I do pay for an OpenAI account monthly so that I have access to ChatGPT. I actually use it for helping me with diagnosis of health issues because medical professionals in Portugal, they're not the best. And, I've personally been struggling with a lot of health issues throughout my life, particularly stomach problems that I have. No matter what I do, no matter what changes I make in my life, I always wake up feeling like I have a dagger stabbed right in my stomach, which is painful as hell. So a lot of times I go up to ChatGPT and I try to come up with solutions for various problems that I have with my stomach problems. That's one of the reasons. But it comes with a whole suite of tools, one of those being DALL-E, which is included, right? So I figured, hey, let's see if I can get DALL-E to draw Pikachu. So for starters, I had to twist its arm a little bit because the eye's like, oh no, I don't want none of that Pokemon smoke, bro. I'm gonna get sued into oblivion. Please don't make me do this. Eventually, I was able to convince it, and this is what it came up with. This was the closest thing that I was able to get DALL-E to create that would be similar to a Pikachu, which, as you can tell, this doesn't look like a Pikachu at all, at least not in my opinion. Feel free to prove me wrong. Here was the second design. Again, the colors don't even match all that well. It just has like kind of, I guess, a somewhat similar face, and then they put a lightning symbol on his face. But there's different AI tools out there. I do believe that you can potentially have an AI tool that you just like feed Pokemon into and out come other Pokemon. But I'm just saying it's not as simple as going up to an AI and be like, make a Pikachu. Doesn't work like that. And then I figured, hey, let's try something a little bit closer to home. Hey, make me a Rathalos. Yeah, this doesn't look like a Rathalos at all. So I'm just saying, I'm not sure if AI is all the way there where it can just straight up copy this Pokemon stuff. I actually would argue that potentially, I'm not even saying that they didn't copy or were heavily inspired by, however you want to put it. I don't care. Like I said, I'm not defending this game. That's not my job. I don't care. But I actually believe it would be easier to just get somebody to do it. Just get somebody to be like, hey, look at Pokemans, make our own Pokemans, heavily inspired by them, whatever. I think it'd be easier to have somebody actually do that manually than do it through AI. As somebody that has done prompts and has done stuff, and I've tried generating images for things that I find interesting, trust me, I don't think it's that easy. Personally, I don't think it's that easy. I can be proven wrong. I don't know if that is the case or not. I'm just saying, I don't think it's as easy as people are making out to be. You don't just like put a bunch of stuff into an AI blender and poof, Palworld comes out, which kind of feels like the way that people are describing this. And one of the reasons why I wanted to specifically harp on this point, where people just start saying this stuff on social media, and all of a sudden everybody just assumes that that is the truth, and that's done and done. The problem is that we already have people that have been actually unfairly punished by this because we have an artist here, Ban Moran. I actually couldn't find the specific story that I was looking for because I ran across a story on my Twitter timeline a while back where an artist was being wrongfully called for using AI art. But also happened to this artist. As you can see here, this person was banned from, what is this, DeviantArt? I don't know what, no, from r/art. So a Reddit thread. They're banned from Reddit thread, and apparently their account has they were banned from a 22 million followed art group. So the group has 22 million users, and they were basically banned from that audience because they were accused of using AI art. So I'm assuming this is a moderator, he just says, I don't believe you, even if you did paint it yourself. It's so obviously an AI prompted design that it doesn't matter. If you really are a serious artist, then you need to find a different style, because A, no one is going to believe when you say it's not AI, and B, the AI can do better in seconds what might take you hours. Sorry, it's the way of the world. So this artist literally got banned from r/art, so she can't promote her art on Reddit, on that specific Reddit thread, which is, if you are somebody who wants to reach an audience, you will realize how important stuff like this is. Now, personally, I don't use Reddit, but if I was to be banned from a platform like X or YouTube, that would actually be really bad for me. Because, I rely on these two. I only use two social media platforms. I don't have time to do a whole lot of them. So if I get banned from any of them, I'm going to have some serious problems, making ends meet, because this is my job. So whenever you're an artist and you rely on social media in order to be able to showcase your art, if you get wrongfully accused of utilizing AI tools and then you get banned based on that, that is a serious problem. So, and now you're like, well, why do I care? This person probably did use AI art, Rurikhan. What do you mean? It's like, okay, here you go. She goes through, shows you all of the references for her work, how she came up with the idea for the painting. Here are the references I used for it. Here's the proof I have another chance to give, and am I still being banned? Here's the file on Photoshop, and you can see that it's got multiple different layers. You can see all of the layers from all of different stuff that people do in Photoshop. You can see people questioning her how she got chromatic aberration in here. She's not going to give them the step-by-step, but she does show more. Where were the other examples? Because she has more of this stuff. I've seen it. Was it down here? No, wait. This is to reply. She has like a whole thing that breaks down. She has like a whole thing that breaks down even more stuff. But the point of the matter is, it was not. This is not AI art. She did all of this stuff herself. I know that I don't know where I had the other ones, but there was even more stuff that she brought up besides the references and whatnot. This is not AI art. This is one example. We have another example here where somebody was accused of AI art, and this person reached out to them, and they were sent the sketches. So as you can see, you have the sketch here, you have this, and you have this, and then you have the coloring, and people thought that this thing looked like AI art. Again, once again, another person was wrongfully accused of using AI art, and this is really bad for artists, for people around the world that just get accused of doing stuff in AI when they didn't. Like, I do think that it is important to point out when people use AI. As a matter of fact, I think that people should simply disclose whenever they use AI, so that people just know, okay, this is AI art, this is not AI art, so that people are aware of what is and what isn't. That is why it's so important to have that disclosure. I've always been someone who is very much in favor of transparency in all things. This is why whenever I receive a copy of a game, I tell you, hey, I received a copy of this game. In the case of Palworld, I didn't. I bought it, just in case anybody's wondering. Now, we eventually reach a point where we have Paul Tassi here, who made an article, Palworld accused of being an AI product with no evidence so far. And he goes on into a lot more detail about this, and the two situations that people are using to kind of bring up the AI accusations is a number of 2021 tweets. Pocket Pair CEO Takuro Mizobi expressed fascination with an experiment about creating generated Pokemon with extremely early AI tools, which was later featured as a BuzzFeed quiz. This is often being construed as Mizobi himself using generative AI to make Pokemon models, but that has not been shown to be the case. Elsewhere in 2022 tweets, Mizobi spoke more on the topic of generative AI, seemingly viewing it as an inevitable development that could be useful. And pretty much generative AI is unfortunately inevitable. I'm not the biggest fan of, utilizing generative AI for creative purposes in terms of generating imagery that then goes on to create certain models, specifically in the case that people are using works from other artists. Like if you're using AI to generate, original stuff, that's one thing. But if you're like, oh, give me a drawing in the style of Michelangelo or something like that, give me a drawing in the style of Leonardo da Vinci. I'm saying famous artists, but you could just as easily say an artist that I know of because of my fascination with Blizzard games in the past would be, draw me this in the style of Sam Wise, right? Who is was one of the lead artists over at Blizzard. That I don't think is cool. Stealing somebody else's art and using generative AI to just generate stuff based on that art, that I don't think is cool. But utilizing AI to generate stuff for you or to automate certain processes, I don't know if I'm entirely against that. I'd need to see the use cases. I'd need to see the advantages, the benefits, because at the end of the day, AI is a tool. It's all about the people using that tool and what they are doing with it, which is, once again, I consider it to be of the utmost importance to disclose. Now, another thing that they mentioned here is, in 2022, Pocket Pair released a little played game called AI Art Imposter, which contained an internal generative AI system where players would guess where the images were from. The description contains the phrase, "You are a progressive artist who commands AI to generate images, and you need aesthetic talent to draw good artwork," which some view as serious, others as ironic. So this is another game that they did where they did use generative AI. This does not mean that Palworld is using generative AI. It could be. I don't know. The thing that bothers me is that people are throwing out that allegation without any proof. And at the end of the day, like I said, I don't even care that much. It's just that people started shoving this in my face when all I wanted to do was tell people, hey, I'm streaming this game. That's it. People just kept shoving this stuff in my face. Oh, it's generative AI, blah, blah, blah. Nobody has any proof of this. Now, another interesting thing, because like we've said before, it is possible, and I think that there's definitely been some heavy inspiration, whether you want to consider that copying of Pokemon or whatever. There's definitely been some cases of that, I'm sure. I don't know all the Pokemon, but I've seen examples like this. There definitely seems to be something there. But an interesting thing here is, if we actually go to the Wikipedia page, there's been interviews and stuff with the CEO, and he says, Pocket Pair team claims that Pokemon was not one of their main inspirations. According to the CEO Takuro Mizobi, the concept of Palworld is based on Ark Survival Evolved, which, as someone who's played over 20 plus hours of the game, I can definitely assure you, yes, the gameplay is very similar to Survival Evolved, but it is actually much better implemented, in my opinion, because I like Palworld, where I don't like Ark Survival Evolved at all, which also had monster companions and dinosaurs. The survival mechanics and in-game tasks were inspired by Rust. Never played Rust, but maybe it is. While the Dragon Quest series influenced creature designs. Well, isn't that something interesting? The Dragon Quest series. Hey, can I copy your homework? Sure, just make sure it looks different so that it doesn't look like you just copied it. Sure thing. Here's Dragon Quest, which, by the way, as far as I'm aware, came before Pokemon. You have these designs here, and you have Pokemon being inspired by these designs of Dragon Quest. Potentially. Again, I'm not saying that's the case. I'm just saying, hey, if we're going to be looking at certain things, if we're going to be, especially with that big Twitter thread that's got the 100 and however many pals, and comparing them to Pokemon and putting sometimes 3 and 4 Pokemon together and saying see, it's a mashup of these 3 Pokemon. I'm like, okay, if that is fair game, kind of feel like this is also fair game. So where are we at? Not to mention that, I talked about previously, it seems that this was one of their inspirations in this interview that they did, where they say, hey, we're actually inspired by Dragon Quest. So what if Palworld was also inspired by Dragon Quest, and in their inspiration from Dragon Quest, they ended up coming up with designs that are similar to Pokemon? I don't know. And at the end of the day, I don't care. I just don't like people throwing accusations without any proof whatsoever. I could be proven completely wrong tomorrow. It can be, the developer can come out tomorrow and say, actually, we did use generative AI and we did feed a bunch of Pokemon into a machine and that's what came out. Hey, that can happen. I doubt it. I don't think it makes a lot of sense. I think it makes more sense that the artist just kind of copied some of the stuff. Maybe. I don't know. Either way, like I said, I don't have particularly strong feelings on the topic. I just wish people would let me go on with my life without constantly reminding me, oh, you're supporting a generative AI game. And when I ask them for proof, they're like, well, we don't have that. And another thing on the topic of lawsuits, you know, people that are usually adequate to speak on the topic of lawsuits, because there's a lot of people also saying that, oh man, Nintendo is going to have a field day, or the Pokemon company is going to have a field day. They're going to sue Palworld into oblivion. I figured that if we're going to be talking about law and lawsuits, we should be talking with a lawyer. So we have Richard Hogue here, who is a business lawyer, and he talks about anybody can sue anyone for any reason, so I can't tell you what Nintendo will or won't do about Palworld. I can tell you, however, that they'd have a tough time winning on any infringement claim that isn't arguing a direct design copy. The game itself is a Minecraft, Zelda, Monster Hunter mashup. Monster Hunter? Minecraft, Zelda, I don't agree with the Monster Hunter part. Mashup unlike anything Pokemon has put forth, so there's no winning there. The PAL designs have elements that are similar to Pokemon, but even though they fly a bit close to the sun for my taste, that's a really hard case to win. Nintendo would be better served seeing what elements of the game might fit into their own brand. So Hogue is saying, why don't you guys just, make a better game, as opposed to continuously coasting on the success of the Pokemon franchise. I don't know. Either way, that's where my video ends. I don't really have any particular answers for you. I looked into this. I looked over and over and over. I couldn't really find definitive proof as of the recording of this video. Like I said, if such proof materializes itself, I'll be glad to either delete the video, offer a correction, whatever the hell you want from me. But until then, either put up or shut up. Jesus friggin' Christ. Anyway, I'm going to go back to playing some video games, all right? See you guys later. Peace.